Have you been paying attention to what's happening at Clemson? Dabo Swinney, whole new man. So since we last spoke, they've made a hire there. They hired Tom Allen from Penn State as defensive coordinator. This is pretty big news on its surface, just on its face, but it is monumentally humongous news when you consider the broader scope of things at Clemson. So let me walk you down memory lane a little bit. It wasn't all that long ago that we were looking at Clemson and we were looking at Dabo Swinney, and he basically had no portal tattooed on his lower back and promote from within tattooed on the other half of his lower back. I mean, that was the philosophy there. They famously have not even opened the door of the transfer portal in a long time. And when it came time to hire after Brent Venables left there a few years ago, and Dabo could have done a national search for a coordinator, instead he looked within because he said, I want my own guys. I'm promoting from within. Well, he promoted Wes Goodwin up the ladder. Never been a coordinator before in his life. It was a bad move. He has since fired him. And it's easy to say that in retrospect. That's why I said it at the time. So I get full leeway to criticize it because I did say it at the time. So anyway, now, a few years later, what's happening? A hurricane is coming through Clemson. But Josh, it's January. Well, yeah, climatologically speaking, it's pretty cold over there. But metaphorically speaking, wow. We've all of a sudden got, 3 portal additions here. So we've opened the portal. It's a whole new world, part 1 in Clemson. And then part 2, we're not promoting from within. We're going to get Tom Allen from Penn State. And the Penn State side of that, I'll talk about if Jesse reminds me in just a second. But from the Clemson side of things, what are we getting in here? Well, we're getting a former head coach. We're getting a really good coach, good defensive coach. But more specifically, we're getting new blood. We're getting fresh ideas. It's not stagnant. It's not pond water. There's fresh flow coming in, new players coming in, new coaches coming in. That doesn't guarantee anything. I want to be very, very clear with my opinion on this because I was asked. I love conceptually that Dabo's willing to do this. It doesn't guarantee anything. They could crash and burn doing this, but they could also elevate themselves doing it. Now, Dabo Swinney, this is where he's got to know his program better than anyone, and I trust that he does, and I trust that he knows what he's doing here. He's been doing this a long time. No one knows Clemson football better than Dabo Swinney. Having said that, it signifies a pretty fundamental change here. And you hadn't said those words with Dabo Swinney in a long time. Fundamental change? I've never blamed him. It's been one of the most frequently revisited topics on this show because it's really complex. The Dabo Swinney transfer portal, Dabo Swinney resistant to change conversation. It's been frequent, it's been really complex, and I've always needed 15 minutes to talk about it, so let me do it in 15 seconds. My personal preference has been for Dabo to be a little more open to these concepts. My personal opinion about the man is I fully respect that he's resisted it because I fully respect that he's defined his principles and values of his program and he's adhered to them. Sounds counterintuitive. Kind of is. It's just that you don't have to run your program the way I think you should run it because it's my philosophy that there's a reason you're the head coach there and I'm not. I can have an opinion, just like every fan can have an opinion, but it's your program for a reason. So I've always been smart enough to realize that at least. Now, with all that aside, he is making changes here. Don't mistake what you're seeing is just a headline of, a couple of portal kids, a coaching change. Well, that happens everywhere. Not at Clemson, it doesn't. So this is a really, really big change. I don't know what it means in the end, but I know it signifies Dabo Swinney may not be as stubborn as a lot of folks, including me, thought he was. He may not be as resistant to change as a lot of folks, including me, thought he was. I do think his mind has changed on this. He may hold a press conference and downplay this as just standard operating procedure at Clemson. It's not. This is a fundamental change in their approach. If he says anything other than that, we will agree to disagree on that. They play LSU in week 1 this upcoming season. Do you know that? We're about to wrap up the 2024 season. It's never too early. It's never too early to look ahead. They host LSU. It's not a neutral site thing. This is college football the way God intended it. Sweltering heat, if you can imagine that right now, and Death Valley. Which one? Well, the one they'll be playing in. I just realized that's going to be one of the most nauseating storylines in the week leading up to that game is, which Death Valley is the real Death Valley? Just stick an ice pick in my ear right now before we have to go through that. So, hey, we got Cade Klubnik back at Clemson. Garrett Riley, another year in as the offensive coordinator. Now we've got Tom Allen as the defensive coordinator. That thing's not going to be resurrected overnight. That defense is not, but it's got some good players to work with there. I'm just happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. It signifies change. It's not a guarantee of anything, but it does signify change. Keep that up, Colin. 2, 4, 6, 8. They are the 9th odds favorite to win it all next year at FanDuel, for whatever that's worth to you right now.